granddaddies and aunts and uncles, but yet you got folks in Congress who want to put conditions on giving aid to our sisters and brothers in California. Where do we go from here? I'm going to put that in the parking lot. I might pull it back out. We got black elected leaders who, for the sake of position and title, refuse to stand up for black people. Talking about you, Black Caucus. We have some black preachers who are so enamored by getting a call from them politicians that they will sell out their congregations and their communities for a pot of porridge. I'm talking about us, who got so caught up on the election of the first black president that during the second term we asked for nothing and we got nothing. I'm here to tell the truth. The whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now, some of y'all gonna say amen, ouch, it's all right with me. But I don't put politicians on pedestals. I serve God, I worship God, and I serve the people. I don't worship politicians. And they are supposed to be public servants. The greatest among you shall be the servant. But they get so caught up. And we get what we accept. So I'm talking to us black people. Because in order for this nation to reach transcendence, economically, socially, politically, in order for it to reach transcendence, it depends on us to do so. You don't have to trust what Sister Senator Turner is saying. Just follow the tracks of history, and you will know that any great transcendent thing that has ever happened to this country has been because black folks have stood up and said, not on my watch. Black folks have stood up and said, I need to be free. Black folks have stood up and said, we need civil rights. Blacks have stood up and said we need voting rights. Now we need from civil rights to civil rights. This is an economic thing, and we get it twisted. The civil rights movement was not just about marching and voting. It was about economics. How is it that we find ourselves in the same social and economic positioning? That generation after generation, yeah, people get fancy jobs, they get fancy titles, they even become president of the United States. But meanwhile, back in the hoods where people are misunderstood, where Big Mama and Big Papa reside, the wealth gap is real in 2025. Not talking about income, I'm talking about building wealth. And the thing that I love about St. Stephen's, I was reading all of that good stuff about being on the mission and being on assignment and making investments. Again, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the plight and what he stood for was for us to stand up and not forget where we came from, what we made of, and also what our assignments are. And we have forgotten because we've gotten so excited. Let me get one quote here. Reverend King said, to guard ourselves from bitterness. And sisters and brothers and family and friends, it's easy to be bitter. We need the vision to see in this generation's ordeals the opportunity to transfigure both ourselves and American society. That is the unmutedness that we need in the black community to realize that we have an opportunity to transform ourselves and to transform America. In other words, there's promise in the problem. My Southern grandmama, anybody understand Southern grandmamas? Now, grandma couldn't read or write, but she could count her money. And to the sisters in here, Grandma kept her money in the Southern ladies. In the Southern ladies' bank and trust. Although Grandma did not have a formal education, she was one of the smartest women I've ever known. And one of her mother wit sayings was about putting truth in the river. She said, you can put truth in the river 5 days after lie. Truth gon' catch up. She said, gone. Gon' catch up. Truth gon' catch up. See, truth is caught up with us today as a people, as a larger community, as a nation, and as a world. There needs to be some moral clarity in everything that we do. You can't separate law from morality. It is immoral for folks not to have health care. Dr. King talked about that. It is immoral for folks not to have a job guarantee. Dr. King talked about those things as well. It is immoral for folks not to be housed. But yet, we accept that this is okay in a hegemonic nation. It is not okay. This is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So Grandma said you put truth in the river 5 days after lie, truth gonna catch up. I had the pleasure of attending a Catholic church in Chicago. I was a little nervous. But this is a whole different Catholic church. When I walked in there, I'm talking about blacked up, it was blacked up. Jesus was black, everything was black. I'm like, yeah, Jesus is black. That's the Jesus I call on when I really need something to happen, Dr. Cosby. I call on black Jesus. With the sandals on, you know what I mean? I need the one with the sandals on. So I get in there. So the priest, Father Jones, real name, I want to marry what Grandma said about putting truth in the river with what Father Jones, the story that he told about truth. He said, and I'm embellish a little bit, just a little bit. He said, truth and lie went for a swim. Now, I said truth and lie went skinny dipping, but that's just mine. And truth does what truth does, but lie did what lie does. So truth is swimming his heart out. And he turns to his left, he doesn't see lie. He turns to the right, he doesn't see lie. Because lie did what lie does. And what does lie do? Lie. By the time truth got back to shore, truth noticed that lie had taken his clothing. And lie put on the clothing of truth and went back into the city. Now, the city folks knew that lie wasn't truth, but they were too cowardice, too ashamed, did not have a spine to tell lie that you have donned the garment of truth, but you are a lie and the truth ain't in you. When truth got back to shore and checked out the situation, he had two choices. Well, really, he had three, but two major choices. One was to don the garment of lie, which he could not do, or go back into the city. And guess what truth decided to do? Truth went back into the city, and the people had to behold the naked truth. Hello, somebody. Hello, somebody. The naked truth. Some folks can't handle the naked truth. The naked truth today is that we as a collective, I'm not talking about certain individuals because there are many individuals on the vineyard, they on mission, they on assignment, but I'm talking about as a collective group of people, we have picked up other people's bad habits. We need to be unmuted. And we need to be reconnected with the essence of who we are and who our forebears were and all that they had to do to get us to this moment in time. They did not sacrifice all that they sacrificed for us to be cool, calm, and collected in the face of suffering and immorality. They did not sacrifice for us to cuddle up with folks with fancy titles when these folks are not doing their jobs. We can like and we can love somebody, but baby, when they need to be checked on behalf of the people, they need to be checked. The truth. The whole truth. And nothing but the truth. The naked truth. Black community in particular. And yes, we got allies. We got co-conspirators. There's no doubt about it. But this nation moves when we move. This world moves when we move. And once we understand this, this is not arrogance. I'm not hyping you up. Check the records. Check the receipts. So Dr. King, he agonized in that book about the material conditions of black people and then humanity by extension. We get caught up on racism and materialism and militarism. How is it that you can send all this money for war, but when everyday working people need a hand up, we say they asking for a handout? That corporate welfare is okay. I'm young enough to remember when we bailed out the banks because they were too big to fail. We bailed out the auto industry because they were too big to fail. When are the American people going to be bailed out? Hello, somebody. There are going to be a lot of folks quoting Dr. King. A lot of people tweeting Dr. King, or Xing Dr. King, gramming Dr. King, TikToking Dr. King until the 19th, because TikTok. But as my grandma used to say, they ain't bit more got no business. Because some of them folks that will be quoting Dr. King and talking about Dr. King are the same people who voted for bombs. Where is our collective responsibility, both individually and communally, to stand up for what is just, for what is right, and for what is good? The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God. I'm feeling a little Aesop Philip Randolph to polish this thing on up. And I'm all off my notes, so my apologies. I knew that was going to happen. God, I want you to ponder this with me. You are going to listen with your ears. I want you to feel it with your heart, because this is it right here. This is an encapsulation. Because Dr. King, there were many people before him, many people during his time, and those of us who are after him who have to carry the mantle. This thing is cyclical. It never ends. See, justice is not a destination. It's a journey. Every generation is responsible for fighting for justice. When we think about the Freedom Riders, those were younger folks. The people who sat at the lunch counters, younger folks. There were older, seasoned folks and middle-aged folks. Everybody has a role to play. So Asa Philip Randolph, one of the greatest labor leaders of the 20th century. If there is anything more reprehensible than the practice of discrimination upon a people because of race, color, religion, national origin, or ancestry, it is for the people discriminated against to accept it without protest or resistance. Can I talk to you about that? If there's anything more reprehensible, ... It is for the people discriminated against to accept it without protest or resistance. It is an evidence of the utter lack of self-respect. Say amen or say ouch. the most priceless possession an individual or group can have, without which there can be no human dignity, an utter lack of self-respect. So there were many messages in this message. Number one, Dr. King's spirit and essence and what he stood for is still alive. It lives because we live, and we have a moral obligation to carry out the mission. It is our time in this moment. Moments matter. We are it. We are the ones. Lesson number two. We cannot sit idly by and allow injustice to happen to ourselves or any group of people, whether they're here in the United States or abroad. What happens over there happens over here. The same spirit that would allow other people's babies to be bombed is the same spirit that allows babies in this country to go hungry at night, or for their mamas and daddies not to have a living wage. It's the same spirit. And we pretend that Dr. King was beloved when he was walking the face of this earth. When he challenged power, power challenged him back. Now, as long as he was talking about civil rights, he was halfway okay. But when he started talking about the Vietnam War, then they said, brother, you're going too far. And let me go and put a footnote on this. Black folks wasn't much better in how they accepted Dr. King. When he stepped out, according to mainstream society, there were black folks saying, I don't know if you want to do that, Dr. King. Black people. How dare we? Go back and look up the Gallup poll. He was unfavorable. His ratings were so high. But today we quote him and we pretend like we loved him. Don't bit mo understand. I'm telling the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. And the last point comes from Asa Philip Randolph, that we must not lose our self-respect for 30 pieces of silver, for a title or position, to be invited to a Christmas party, to take a picture, to be in a photo op while babies go hungry and parents can't support them. And corporations are buying up housing. Hello, somebody. And fires rage in LA County is symbolic of the fires that are raging all across this country in terms of folks not being served. I'm here to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. There is promise in this problem, because we, the collective we, not just here in Louisville, Kentucky, but the collective we all over the country can mount up and say, not on our watch. We are not going to accept this anymore. It is our time to rise up and follow in the path of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all of his contemporaries, to stand up for what is just, for what is right, and for what is good, that we are willing to look upon the naked truth and tell the truth and accept the consequences that comes. When we talk about justice, often we talk about justice as if it's this pretty frail thing. But when you fight for justice, there are consequences. And black liberation is the liberation for la-di-da-di and everybody. Did you hear me? When black folks are set free socially, economically, politically, everybody will be set free. And who the Son set free is free indeed. Hello? Hello.
Amen. Senator Nina Turner, everybody. I almost feel like saying the doors of the church are open after that. Wow. She hit us with so many points, but one that really resonated. She says, titles are good, but purpose is better. That was powerful, sister. All right. I don't know if y'all ready to go higher, but we about to go a little bit higher. Y'all ready? All right, I want to introduce Dr. Ricky Jones. It's an absolute honor to introduce a man who needs no introduction in this city, right? He's a scholar, a trailblazer, and a truth teller who has never been afraid to disrupt the status quo. Dr. Jones is a Baldwin-King scholar in residence at the Envirome Institute and professor of Pan-African Studies at the University of Louisville. He has spent decades challenging us to think deeper and to question harder and fight fiercely for justice. And tonight he's bringing that same energy to the stage. Everybody stand to your feet and welcome Louisville's own Dr. Ricky Jones.
This feels good tonight because for the first time since I can't remember, somebody is in the building that's crazier than me. And I love that. Let's give it up again for Sister Nina Turner. So I got to tell y'all first off, my brother Kevin Cosby, Reverend, Doctor, President, he's like the Jamaican brother, got 15 million jobs. Y'all don't know some of the conversations we had privately, but he called me up and he said, Nina Turner's coming to town. Do you want to participate? And I was like, Negro, I will fight you in the streets if you do not allow me to participate. I love Nina Turner, have for some time. Shout out, love and respect to the Sisters of Sigma Gamma Rho. Quickly before we get to I'm a member Kappa Alpha Psi, the Noops in the house, yo. What y'all don't know about Kappa men is that we are sapiosexuals. You have all these stereotypes about us, but what Kappa men love are smart women. Is that not right, bruhs? Yo. So the bruhs were very interested in if Sister Turner was married. A few were asking me that. I said, I don't know.
Hold on, Doc.
We get into Brother Keith.
Oh, okay.
They said, does she have a man? I said, I don't know. And tonight she came here pointing out her boo, and I got a couple of texts from Noob saying, are we going to let this brother out of here alive? And I said, look, we got to embrace Brother Keith. Let's give it up for Brother Keith. He made an incredible choice in a sister. So we got...
Dr. Johnson, I didn't know where you were going with that.
Oh, it's a good thing.
I got to go home, you know what I mean?
we support Brother Keith.
No.
But now, let's get going with a few questions for you. You talked about hegemony, the domination of one group over another, okay? And Antonio Gramsci really talked about that deeply. Let's make it plain for the people. First of all, Gramsci would classify you as a revolutionary. He said telling the truth should not be a revolutionary act. And he also said hegemony always involves two things: the coercion of the oppressor, but the consent of the oppressed. So tell me, what happened in America to make the truth so rarely encountered, and people who tell the truth seem crazy, like me and you, and why are black people consenting?
Wow, Doc, that's a lot. I believe it's always been that way. I mean, power, we all understand the history of this country and how it came to be about. I mean, stole the land, that was a lie from the beginning. When you got folks telling other folks, go back where you came from, when there's only two groups of people who still would be left, and that would be us and the indigenous folks, because we was brought over here by force. You know what I mean? We want to tell the truth about it. Everybody else got to go. The rest of us stay. Power doesn't want to hear truth, because in order for a certain type of crooked power to stay in power, the lie has to prevail. And so power meets out consequence. So there was a consequence for our ancestors on this soil. We're only talking about this soil because we know that the history of the diaspora is bigger than slavery. But if we want to talk about chattel slavery in this
country, all along, black folks were always trying to liberate themselves, even if it meant jump the ship. But even when we jumped the ship, they got hip to it. So now they keeping us below longer or chaining us up. Some people tried to starve themselves, right? Trying to be liberated. Would rather die than live like this. They would hem them up so they couldn't do those kinds of things. So this is not a new phenomenon for, let me quote Dr. West, the empire. This has always been the case. So power punishes you if you don't get in line. And so it's normal reaction to say, I don't want to be punished, so I'm going to get in line. Thank God that we have forebearers who understood that liberation meant that they had to make a sacrifice, so they had to step out of line, even if it meant that they were going to lose their physical lives. Because had they not did that, we would not be here today. Simmons College wouldn't exist today. All of those things that we can name. Now, to your point about the black community, it wasn't always that way, because if it was always that way, we wouldn't be partially free. And I say partially. Let me say air quote free. Yeah. We have lost our way because we have lost our connection to those who made the ultimate sacrifices for us to have fancy titles. We have picked up other people's bad habits. Now, it doesn't have to be that way moving forward, and there are individuals who have not picked up those bad habits, but as a collective. And Doc, let me just give you an example. And I brought up President Obama. I could see folks clutching pearls.
No, I've done that. I've done that for years.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they got
wrote a book about it.
Yeah, and the only reason why, and this is not haterism at all, it is when you arrive to that level of power. Now, the first term I understood, I'm like, we got to get the brother in for a second term. You know, they tried to stop him. I'm like, oh, no, not on our watch. Y'all don't let all these other mediocre folks have 2 terms. Our black man going to get his second term, too. So that was my black solidarity. Right. But when I started peeling back the layers, come on now, I'm like, I know in the second term, black folks gonna get some stuff that's owed to us. And it didn't happen. But yet, black people backed everything he did. And you better not say anything about him or they coming for you, the collective they. We have lost our way. That has not always been the way in the black community. We aligned ourselves with those who had our best interests at heart, and we checked those like Big Mama did, those who did not. We have lost our collective way.
That's heavy in reflecting, because I wrote some questions and I'm totally going off script like you. In reflecting on the last election cycle, there was a lot of talk, even though black people are still by far the Democrats' most loyal constituency, both black women and black men, and I want to come back to that in another question. But do you think that black people learned a bit from the Obama experience, and therefore, at least some, had more questions for Sister Kamala that wouldn't have been asked of Brother Obama?
No, I don't think so.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, because we did overwhelmingly still, lesser but still. Because at first they said 19 million people who voted in 2020 did not come out to vote, and now they got it hovering around 10 million. People just opted out because the system ain't working. Common sense says to me, you keep asking me to do the same thing over and over and over again. That's insanity. The system's not working. I'm not coming out. But let me tell you what Democratic leadership and black folks that bought into it did. They said you got to vote for her because she has black heritage. Now, you can say amen or ouch, but that's exactly what they did. And when you do that, you feed into what the other side is saying. I want to know what you've done for me lately. I'm about Janet Jackson. Now, in 2020, she was a cop. It was bad to be a prosecutor, Doc. You may remember this. Oh, yeah. Fast forward to 2024, she's going to prosecute the case. Fast forward to 2024, felony, and Trump is a felon, don't get me wrong, but Trump going to be all right. He was always going to be all right, whether he became the president or not. But I'm going somewhere with this. Who's not going to be all right? The black men and women in our communities who are returning citizens. And so when Democrats use felon in that way, it galled me. See, they thought that was cute. She gonna prosecute the case. He's a felon. They fell into that trap. Now they all over the country talking about felons. You know, the felons, the ex-felons, the returning citizens who are not gonna get an equal opportunity to restart their lives when you got black activists generation after generation fighting for ex-felons to be re-enfranchised, fighting for them to get jobs, fighting for them to have places to stay. But in 2024, we got somebody prosecuting the case. So you bring to us, you know, D.L. Hughley and a whole bunch of other folks. Now, I'm naming names. He jumped on Janet Jackson like it was either I'm going to vote for you because you've done something for me. Black people need to understand, vote is transactional. You owe me something, I don't owe you nothing. What have you done for me lately? It ain't vote for this person because the other person is worse. The lesser of two evils is still evil. The woman was on record saying she ain't doing nothing special for black folks. However, they demanded we do something special for her. Now you can say amen or ouch.
Hey, she said it. I didn't, and I love it. You're a Democrat. Ideologically, you're a democratic socialist, which a lot of people may not understand. But you have powerful criticisms of the Democratic Party, which some people feel is out of order. What do you think? I don't think it's out of order. In fact, I think it's very necessary. But some people have very elementary analyses saying, well, if you criticize the Democratic Party, then you're down with the Republicans. I mean, that's silly. But what do you think are some of the fundamental problems with the Democratic Party where black people are concerned, or in general?
They play in our face too much. We are the loyalist base, as you name. So even though there was some fall off in 2024, we still are the loyalist demographic for the Democratic Party. But I asked the black community, what really have you gotten for that? Generationally so. We haven't gotten anything as big since the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, which even then, when you read those things, are not necessarily, it's about us, but it ain't about us. Read it. I dare people to go back and read it. So because we are the loyalist demographic, then my critique and my demand is not that I'm letting Republicans off the hook, but my critique and my demand is to the party that gets the lion's share of the black vote. And I don't think that's unreasonable. They have done literally nothing. Generationally. We couldn't get a federal minimum wage. Now, the Democrats were in control the first 2 years by way of example, because I like to throw out some receipts. By way of example, we couldn't get a federal minimum wage passed. I got associates on the inside. So I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you about the people who were in the meetings before the meeting, before the meeting. Because, see, if you ain't in the meeting before the meeting, you ain't the one. Who said that they were not going to increase the federal minimum wage when you got a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic president in the face of such economic pain. And then they had the pure unadulterated gall to blame it on the parliamentarian as a scapegoat for not doing what they were supposed to do. They didn't do it. They didn't pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. They didn't pass the George Floyd Policing Act. That's the basement level. They wouldn't say that's out of order and unseemly. What is out of order and unseemly is to expect a group who has been as loyal to you as black people have to continue along that course and not get nothing for it and not say anything. I remember being told to just shut up and sit down. Black folks need to vote for her. And I'm using Sister Harris as the example because she ran for president. We can sub in anybody you want to. This is not about her. It is about a systemic failing in this country of the duopoly. And now you said you were going to get to black men, so I'm not trying to jump ahead of you, but I defended black men on national TV.
And that's what because you clearly saw and loved Boys in the Hood. As we all have. When Trey said to Ricky, we better together.
Come on.
And so I think there's been a serious movement, a very intentional movement, I believe, to divide black men and black women. I did not hear a voice as clarion clear as yours. I mean, from articles that you wrote, I think you had a big thing in, I think it was in Time, and others, where you were really forcefully defending black men, not at the expense of black women, but you were like, look, this is off with what's being said. Black men, let's give it up for this sister for doing that. But what was that about? What prompted you to go down that course when a lot of people were not?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes naturally. It make a whole lot of sense. And I'm glad you said not at the expense of black women, because let me just pause 1 minute for the sisters. If God made anything better than a woman, he must have kept it to himself. Hello, somebody. That part right there. I had to say that for my sisters. No, it makes no sense when I look at our history and how we got over. Our soul looks back and wonders. It has always been together. And so, Doc, when I talk about us picking up other people's bad habits, the white feminist may be able to separate herself from the white man. Black women will never, ever, ever, and I hope never, ever, ever reach that kind of pinnacle where we separate ourselves from our black men, be they our husbands, our lovers, our brothers, our uncles, our grandfathers. No, we can never do that. So when President Obama shamed black men very publicly like that, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I was having a WTF moment, but I'm thinking to myself, as a young person, if y'all don't know what that is, we got a whole bunch of younger folks in here. I was having that moment, and I'm saying they don't, number one, don't do that, and number two, they don't deserve it. The receipts don't bear out. So to your point, let me give some stats here. Black men are the most progressive voting bloc in the United States of America. Let me go backwards in time. In 2016, black men voted for then Secretary Hillary Clinton by over 80%. Meaning, and white men, 32%. You got 80-something%, you got 32%. So not saying that any grown person should be admonished, because first of all, black men ain't nobody's children. He wasn't their daddy. So that's number one. You don't come at black men like that. They already suffer enough in this society. Then you, black man, gonna come at black men like that, giving other folks who don't love black men permission to come at black men like that. You ain't gonna come at them like that. Now, y'all may make us mad from time to time, but you ain't gonna come at black men like that.
Did you see Keith's face when you said y'all might make us mad?
You can't come at black men like that. But then if we just look at the pure issue itself, basically President Obama said to them black men, she know what you're going through. She one of you. Basically he's saying she black. Wouldn't go to no other demographic with that. Why can't black men make a demand? Why can't y'all have something y'all want from an elected official? So it just came naturally to me to say, not on my watch. So yeah, I sat up on CNN all by my lonesome and called out President Barack Obama for doing other black men that way. Don't deserve it. The most progressive voting bloc in the United States of America. Yeah. More willing than any other demographic. I'm not saying that other demographics of men don't vote for women, but more willing by far than any other demographic to give a woman a chance to be president of the United States. Don't bring it here.
Yeah. As you said, what was so galling about it, too, is the brother kept doing it. You know, I'm a Morehouse man. He went to Morehouse and did that. And Morehouse men went nuts.
They did.
And then he came back and did it again. Let's talk about another Morehouse man, because it's his birthday. Martin Luther King Jr., Morehouse, class of 48. As he got closer to the end of his life, and President Cosby and I talk about this all the time, as a lot of black leaders did, one, they became despondent, you know, where Du Bois just left the country in 1961. And he left and he said, Negroes in America cannot win. But King, who had been a committed integrationist, got to the point where he questioned integration. And he said, I fear that I'm integrating my people into a burning house. As we get through the first quarter of the 21st century, what does the integration experiment got us? Should we stick with it, and where do you think it's going?
Wow. Well, we really at a point of no return on the immigration thing. I mean, we here now. But it is something to critique from the halls of academia to the pulpits of churches. Even though the experiment did not go as planned, because we know many great scholars and activist types have pondered that question, whether or not the enslaved can live in peace and harmony with the slaver. We still trying to figure that out. Mentally, spiritually, and I mean for folks, I need folks to have some developed thinking in that. I know everybody wasn't a slave or enslaved, and every white person, I should say, was not a slave master. But the system that created that is still very much alive today in these United States of America. When we look at DEI or woke, me and Mr. Hall were talking about that. I mean, they might as well just go, he said they might as well just go and call us the N-word. Because that's cold. When you have these politicians talking about woke culture and DEI, they might as well just go on and call black folks that. Because that's the covert way. There is a backlash occurring, sisters and brothers. Every time black people make any modicum of progress, a backlash happens. We are in a backlash moment, and we need to recognize it every time it rears its ugly head. I was just listening to the radio on our way in. You got a group suing to stop. They already sued, and the Supreme Court did away with affirmative action. That was against us. So my question becomes, when we gonna start using the legal system? That is how the NAACP of old used to do it. That's how we got Brown v. Board. We turned things on its head. We're gonna have to go back to that again. We gotta mix some new school with some old school. We need to start filing lawsuits against these people who are filing lawsuits against progress in this country. And it always hits us most. They even sued a black hedge fund. A group of black women created a hedge fund to help black women start businesses. Why? Because black women are disproportionately impacted. Black people are disproportionately still impacted in the 21st century. They sued. So we have to use those same techniques. We can't just sit idly by and say things are going to be better by and by. Things will never be better by and by unless we put some sweat equity on this thing. The reason why we've made such progress today, and we got more to make, is because somebody had the courage, the intestinal fortitude, the ovarian conviction to stand up and speak truth, to be unmuted.
Yeah.
We need to unmute.
A couple more. To this point that you just brought up about DEI, because I think it's really important when you talk about black access to education in the country. K through 12, and particularly higher education. Kentucky, here, the 8th whitest state in the country. We've never had a black president of one of the 4-year institutions that are not HBCUs in this state, ever. Never been a black governor, never been a black U.S. senator, never been a black member of the House of Representatives in this state.
And we shout out Charles Booker, senator, who...
No, he was a state.
No, I know, but he ran that race.
Yeah, and Senator Gerald Neal is his state senator as well, but never a United States senator here, right? I mean, Kentucky...
Look, he came in. We just shouted him out. Give it up for Senator Charles.
Yo, to Newt.
Right on time.
Yeah. Another good capper.
Yeah.
I started to lie to say that he was the one that texted me about beating you up, Brother Keith, but it wasn't Charles.
Don't do that. Get us both in trouble.
But what a lot of people don't know about you is you're a longtime professor. Where are we going in an environment, because King talked about just and unjust laws. And what we're hearing from a lot of white college presidents, including the one at the University of Louisville where I work, and politicians with these aggressive laws against black people. And they're about to pass DEI legislation here in this state. Okay, it's coming in this session. I'm just warning y'all right now. But the presidents then say, and the politicians say, well, we'll follow the law. Not remembering slavery was the law, black codes was the law, segregation was the law, apartheid was the law.
Come on.
Right? What do we do with that when what's our path forward when you talk about education? Because it's got to be important, otherwise white folk wouldn't have fought so hard to keep us out, and our ancestors wouldn't have fought so hard to get in.
Right, I mean, Simmons College is the example.
Well, it's a big example.
Right?
I told Kevin,
example.
And he won't say it, but I'm telling our white brothers and sisters here in the city, they should give Simmons all the money they got. And you know why? Because they're letting us know we don't want you at UK.
Yeah.
We don't want you at U of L. We don't want you at Western or Northern. We don't want you at our school. And if you come, we're going to mess you up so bad that you are virtually useless to your people. So go to Simmons. We will pay you to go to Simmons. I think they should pay everybody to go to Simmons.
I do too.
Yeah. But where do we go with education?
Well, we got to, again, mixing old school with new school. The freedom schools. I know Simmons hosted Freedom Summer. We got to do more of that. We cannot allow what they are trying to do legally to stop what we know to do that is right morally. Because the tide is going to turn as long as we don't sit back and accept what is going on. So we got to use every tool at our every tool at our disposal. That is using our collective and individual power to educate our younger people and some of our more seasoned people on a regular basis. Because if we really understood the essence of who we are, James Baldwin once said, know from whence you came. If you know from whence you came, there's virtually nowhere that you cannot go. We don't know from whence we came. We don't understand the struggle. We take all these things for granted, but we got to know those things. So we have a role to play. Nothing's stopping us in our churches, in our Simmons, all over the country to self-educate our kids like we did before, to still away. We got to still away. Secondly, we need to use the legal system. They can use it and so can we. So y'all want to play this game? Y'all want to go there? Let's go there. And start suing, put money in funds and start suing them in the same way that they're suing us, to the edification of our people, because nobody is safe. When they come after black people like this, I mean, you might as well turn back the hands of time. They just doing it in a 21st century way, but Jim and Jane Crow are very much alive.
Yes, most definitely. Last one for me, so we can get out to the people and let everybody get home, because I want to highlight something that you're doing, a relatively new thing that a lot of people may not know about. I think media is incredibly important. Having black voices in media, using that modern technology to get word out. And black folk are under attack in the media. You all understand the stuff that Sister Krystal's going through at WDRB. Everybody knows what Bill Lamb did to me. I got barred from iHeartMedia here. So a lot of black voices are being muted. And I think one of the very powerful black voices that went through some trouble with Brother Tavis Smiley, Brother Cornel West, and ironically, they went through a lot of trouble because black people were mad at them simply because they said we needed to ask questions of Barack Obama. And a lot of black folks said they were haters. So Tavis went through some struggles, but then brother adjusted and went and bought a radio station out in Cali.
KBLA Talk 1580.
And now this is Kismet, you and the eminent Brother Cornel West, who I think is the Du Bois of our time, y'all doing a show together.
We are.
Talk about that a little bit.
And just shout out for Dr. West and Brother Smiley for having the courage to question. When somebody tell you can't question something, you should be suspicious right then and there. We grown. You telling grown folks I can't ask you a question. You want my vote, but I can't ask you nothing? You want my vote, but I can't ask you for nothing. No other group would be told that. You hear me? Brother Frederick Douglass said power can seize nothing without a demand. Come on. So back to the question, though. Truth Time, Monday through Friday. Dr. Cornel West on the East Coast, 3 to 4 o'clock p.m. On the West Coast is 12 to 1. But Dr. West and I, because of the vision of Brother Tavis Smiley, to bring two of us together, and it is called Truth Time for a reason. He said he wanted us to opine on the issues of the day and talk about solutions and motivate folks and educate folks and challenge folks at the same time. Is the second largest media market in the United States of America, and I count it all joy. To your point, Doc, it is so important that we own our own stuff so other folks can't take your stuff. That is why the black newspapers historically were important, because they told stories that the white newspapers would not tell. Black person fell and hung themselves. No, they were lynched. Black man was lynched today. We need to give voice to what the truth is and have the freedom to do it. And so media is vitally important, so I'm really happy. You guys download the KBLA app. You can take out your smartphones and do that. Download that app. And then if you miss the show live, you can get it wherever you get your podcast. But Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and yours truly, Nina Turner.
That's outstanding. Outstanding. Give it up for Sister Turner. I want to close my part out because I don't think we can ever honor and recognize him enough. I do believe that Reverend Dr. Kevin Cosby is the greatest visionary of his generation in this city. I mean, the load this brother carries with St. Stephen and with Simmons, I do not know how he does it. I marvel at him. We love you, brother, and we're here to support you. So thank you for all the work that you do, and thanks for bringing this sister in. Sister Turner, the work that you're doing, and I know you go through a lot of hell for doing it as well. Know that there's certain places that you are embraced, you're loved. You and Brother Key, you are loved and embraced by the St. Stephen family, by the Simmons College of Kentucky family. You always got a soft place to land here. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence. Keep doing the work that you're doing. This right here is the modern Shirley Chisholm. And if you don't know who that is, look her up. Thank you.
All right, let's give it up again for Ricky, Dr. Ricky Jones and Miss Nina. I tell you, this has been such a healing event for me tonight. Have you guys enjoyed yourselves? All right, well, this series not only allowed us to talk about things that you're not going to hear in mainstream media, but we're going to give you an opportunity to ask some questions. We have about 10 minutes for this section. I'm setting the timer on right about now. And y'all show some love for our Simmons students. Miss Jasmine Whitfield and Tara Bobo are handling the mics tonight. Aren't they beautiful, y'all? All right, so if you got a question, if you could stand, and the ladies will bring you the mic.
Good afternoon. First, I want to say thank you for coming and educating us today. My name is Gabrielle Knox. I'm a second-year political science major at Spelman College.
Woo!
And so on Sunday, Dr. Cosby's sermon mentioned that everyone has a role in the battle, and if one's journey is different than yours, this doesn't make their work less legitimate. So my question with this is, how can we ensure that voices from all walks of life, especially the youth, have a seat at the table rather than prioritizing certain demographics, which increases the classism that was discussed today? Thank you.
Gabrielle, thank you so much for that question. You know, since Dr. Jones said I'm the Shirley Chisholm, I'm thinking about a quote from her that, you know, basically if they won't give you the seat, you bring a folding table. A folding chair, excuse me. So you gotta just knock the door down at times. There is a generational connection, though. A lot of times, unfortunately, in American society, we dismiss, even though younger people may feel like they're being dismissed, but elders are dismissed in this culture. And it is unseemly because other cultures reverence their elders, and this culture throws them away. So I would say we have to find the continuum. It is both youth, people somewhere in the middle, and then our elders. That's the only way that we're going to make it as a people. As I said, black men and black women got to make it together. Generations have to make it together too. And throughout the course of our fight for liberation, there's always been young people at that table. As I mentioned just briefly, the freedom riders, younger people. Folks that sat at the lunch counter, younger people. Assembled and SNCC, yes, Dr. Joe, younger people. Because the freedom struggle, the black liberation struggle understood that we needed everybody, but more practically, the younger people didn't have those jobs, and so they could be positioned in a way. It was strategy too. So youth are always going to be needed, and if you're ever feeling like you are left out, you go ahead and bring that folding chair.
All right, let's do a question. Go ahead. All right, we're going to do this side, and then we're going to move over to this side over here. If you got a question, please stand, and you'll be next.
Okay, I'm next. Senator Turner, I know you very well. I have followed your career. Now, my question is to you. How do we push back on Project 2025? And what I'm talking about is that for the last 2 years, the Department of Justice has been here in Louisville. They filed a consent decree. On December the 12th, after 2 years of hard work with the community, the police department, and other civil rights organizations, on December the 12th, that consent decree was signed. On January the 9th, the day of Jimmy Carter's funeral, the Fraternal Order of Police filed a motion to intervene. Also, the Heritage Foundation project director also filed an amicus brief calling for an end to really Louisville's consent decree. So what I want to know is, how do we push back? Because I contend I still got about 242 pages of findings, and I can use that to monitor the police department should they get out of line.
Wow. Well, thank you. So how do we push back on, and thank you for sharing the consent decree. And I think oftentimes we believe that when we're fighting for justice, it's never a final act. And Asa Philip Randolph said that it's never a destination, it's a journey. So there's always going to be an opposite and equal force pushing back on justice. And I know that's mine. My mind is blown by that too. I had to come to grips with that. You mean to tell me some of the things that my foreparents and have already fought for, and some still walking this earth? So when I say for, I just mean came before, but not everybody not in the grave. I gotta relitigate, I gotta refight those same battles. And basically, that is what it comes down to. It's like a 440 relay race. And I ran track, and I was the first leg of the 440 because I was fast. But I use that as an example because a race of that magnitude, there's a baton involved. There's a team element in the relay, meaning you got to pass the baton to the next person who passes it to the next person who passes it to the next person. But I want you to think about the 440 relay as life. We are constantly passing that baton, and it never, ever ends. So the Project 2025, I get how we should be informed, but we should not live in fear, because the United States of America has had a Project 2025 since its inception. We've been here before. This ain't new. Jim Crow, Project 2025. Poll tax, Project 2025. Redlining, Project 2025. Chattel slavery, Project 2025. The 2008, during the Great Recession, when black people lost the greatest wealth in our homes, Project 2025. We've been here before. The only thing with the Trump regime is that they are bold enough to put it all in one document. But we've always had Project 2025, so I want you to be informed, but I don't want you to be in fear. Those of us from a faith tradition, there is no man walking the face of the earth that's greater than God. So I'm not going to walk around here and be afraid of Trump or Project 2025. A lot of them electeds during that election, they tried to scare only black people about Project 2025. When we couldn't vote, that was Project 2025. Not allowing us to learn how to read and write, Project 2025. What y'all talking about? Black folks know about Project 2025? Now, what can we do about it? Because that becomes the seminal question. What they own their job, are we going to be on ours? So it goes back to, my brother, Michael Render, a.k.a. Killer Mike. He got a saying, so I can't take credit for this. Plot, plan. Did you plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize? That's what we will do. The Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act was not passed because Lyndon Baines Johnson, president, Lyndon Baines Johnson got a clue. He was a conduit. But there were people in the basement of churches plotting and planning and strategizing and organizing and mobilizing. The same remains true today, whether it's a Biden, a Harris, or a Trump. We must plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. Do not fear Project 2025. We have been here before. 2026 is coming. 2027 is coming. 2028 is coming. Are we going to be prepared when the time comes? There's an African proverb that says one should never build their shield on the battlefield. It is shield building time. That's what we're going to do about Project 2025.
Like you ran the 440, that's the 400 now for y'all. But I'll echo, sister, you shouldn't fear these people. They're not that smart. I mean, folks talk about DEI, they want to talk about us, didn't earn it. The president, the incoming president of the United States appointed a wrestling promoter to be Secretary of Education. That's some damn DEI for you right there, ain't it? We should be able to outsmart her easily.
All right, we're gonna get to another question. We have anyone on this side that has a question? Mr. Calloway? Well, she can make her way around. She's young, go on.
On your point, you mentioned A. Philip Randolph. He was a labor leader. The other sister mentioned the FOP. The FOPs, not only in Louisville but across the nation, have always been at war, at odds with the interests of the black community. Now, I want to say this. Is it possible to sue the suer? They are suing to block the consent decree. Can the FOP themselves be sued? That's my question.
Yeah, anybody can be sued. But it's a strategy, though. What does suing them get? And it may yield something, but yeah, in America, you can sue anybody for anything.
That's why we need strong black lawyers who are not just, intellectual property attorneys. That's why, Kevin, you got to start a law school as soon as possible, because I don't know if we're going to get that type of training at the University of Louisville.
We need the Charles Hamilton Houston type of lawyers. Dr. Cosby and I were talking about that when he said to his law students, and I'm paraphrasing him, but if you ain't standing up for black people, you a parasite. That's the kind of lawyers we need.
It's very true.
All right, let's go right here in the front. This will be our last question. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Okay. Can we do, okay, yeah, let's get him real quick because he's been standing for a while.
Good evening. John LeMaster, 2006 graduate of Simmons. I want to formulate this question around a favorite scripture of mine. If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves, and you know the rest, God will heal the land. Well, I was telling Dr. Cosby that we need more Thurgood Marshalls, and I believe we have them, but a lot of our black males are being killed, murdered, whatever, and even they say by us, but I don't think it's by us. I think it's by them. And what can we do to protect our young men who are going in that area field and studying? Because there's a lot of young men out there that could be our next Thurgood Marshall. If we don't protect them, what's going to happen?
No, I think that's what Sister's been talking about, what many of us have been talking about. And we think a lot about physical murder, murder of the body. But I think with black folk, we really need to consider murder of the mind. And I'll tell a quick story. When I was at Morehouse, I was told I wasn't going to graduate by the chair of the history department because I transferred to Morehouse from the U.S. Naval Academy, which white America thinks is this incredibly elite school. And Alton Hornsby Jr. said to me, he said, look, you got to take history. And I'm like, I already took history, man. And he was like, they didn't teach you anything about yourself. And that's why I get this thing. He said schools like that forever didn't want to let us in at all. And now the few of us that they do let in, you're miseducated so badly that you're virtually useless to your people. And then he said this to me, made me feel low. He said, I cannot allow you to leave here in that condition. That's a heck of a thing. So, we talk about education, what Sister's doing at the school that she attended. Are you still teaching there?
At Cuyahoga Community College. No, I'm not there.
You're not, but you were there for years.
Oh, yeah.
What I've been trying to do in the belly of the beast over there at the University of Louisville is save as many black minds as possible and not allow them to leave in that condition. That's what Sister Rock, Brother everybody at Simmons, that's what you're doing. It's a psychological rescue project, particularly for black men. Particularly because, brothers, as Malcolm said, have been bamboozled, led astray, much more so than sisters, because we all know sisters are much smarter than us.
You better say that.
All right, I think that ends our question and answer session. I apologize. I was told that our time is up, and maybe if you stay after, you guys, we can have conversations there in the corridor. Well, did you guys enjoy yourselves? Woo! Dr. Ricky Jones, Miss Nina, this has been just such a wonderful, insightful evening, and it couldn't have happened without the institution of Simmons College of Kentucky. And as we celebrate Simmons College of Kentucky, we celebrate a huge milestone, 20th anniversary of my pastor, a leader, a trailblazer, a prophet, leading the helm of this institution for 20 years. He's always been our hometown hero, but now it's going to be official. Everybody show some love for our very own Reverend Dr. Kevin W. Cosby. You got any remarks, Rev? You have anything? Come on.
Thank you so very much. When history is taking place, you never know when history is taking place. In our state, someone asked in Hodgensville, Kentucky, is anything going on today? And they said, oh, no. nothing noteworthy except, oh yeah, Tom and Sarah having a baby. And his name was Lincoln. So when history is taking place, you never know that history is taking place. This conversation is historic. Nikki Giovanni passed, and I remember the conversation that took place between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. This is that type of conversation. James Baldwin scholar, this fearless Stokely Carmichael in our community, Dr. Ricky Jones. And this sister, whom I have admired because of her courage, she is a real sister. She is. Jesse Jackson's wife told Jackie Jackson, she said, one of the dangers of integration is that predominantly white institutions are educating our kids away from us. That's what's happening. And two things before we close I want to respond to. And that is what Dr. Nina said. And by the way, we're talking, nothing's finalized, but she's going to have a role at Simmons College of Kentucky. But she kept saying to us, ask questions. Ask questions. In other words, what she is saying is that's what we're doing tonight, which is, some might say, this is the church. Yes, this is what the church should be about. This is what's called public theology. She's calling upon us to be critical thinkers. And to be a critical thinker is this: ask questions, but then after you ask the question, this is what makes you a critical thinker. Ask the question, and then once you have been given the answer, question the answer. Ask the question, and then question the answer. The mistake we have made is we did not listen to Malcolm when he said, and I'm going to get in trouble, good trouble, that you have Republican wolves, but you got Democratic foxes. Both are predators. One's cute, one smiles, but they're predators. And we have not had people who have represented us who have not questioned. We question Republicans, and rightly so. You have to be somewhere between imbecilic and moronic to vote for a Republican, to vote for Trump. Roaches don't vote for Raid. Chickens don't vote for Colonel Harlan Sanders. So you're insane. But we have not been challenging the party that we give the lion's share of our vote to. And we just make the assumption that they have our best interests in heart. And they do not have our best interests at heart. She quoted A. Philip Randolph, who went to Franklin Delano Roosevelt and said, you've got to integrate these resources as it comes to defense contracts. And making a demand. And this is what Franklin Delano Roosevelt said to her: I will do it, but you got to make me. Johnson said, these politicians are not going to do anything for example, this community, this California community where St. Stephen Church is, where the median income of the people in this community is about $15,000 to $18,000. They're not going to do anything for this community unless we make them. And I want to thank God for our organizations. I know the LCCC is here. The NAACP is here. We've got to get behind our institutions. And I will close by saying this, that there's only three options we have as a people. These are the three historical options for Black America. You have the immigrationist model, and that's Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. That's Marcus Garvey. They were the ones who said, let's get on ships and leave. And by the way, Abraham Lincoln was an immigrationist. He wanted to deport us in slavery, uproot us, deport us to Chickasaw, Panama, called Lincolnia. He's an immigrationist. He was a white supremacist. So you have the immigrationists who want to, and Frederick Douglass said, oh no, we made America. We've got too much in America. King said the same thing. And where do we go from here? So you have that model. Let's go to Africa. The antithesis of that is the integrationist model, in which you get absorbed into whiteness and you lose your distinctiveness and as a Black person. All this idea of Black people being colorblind. The goal was never to be colorblind. King wanted the country to be color kind because they were not kind to us. So the whole integrationist model means you lose your institutions and integrate and get absorbed into whiteness. So it's segregation, desegregation, integration, disintegration of your institutions. That's not an acceptable model. Not immigrate, where we leave. Not integrate, which is not biblical. The Bible doesn't talk about integration, it talks about reconciliation. And that takes repair. So if it's not integration, not immigration, it's what Du Bois said. And it is, by the way, what conscious Jews practice. Not integration, not immigration, but what Du Bois called in 1932-33, he said, we need to be a nation within the nation, which means we are Americans. But at the same time, we need to have our own institutions that we control, because if for no other reason, just us gathering together in this type of space has done us good, psychological good, because we get healed as we come together. And that's what we have to do. We have got to support our NAACPs. And there are 7 basic, our Black churches, I'm not talking about entertainment churches. I'm talking about the church with the prophetic voice. We've got to support our NAACPs. We have to support Black schools like Simmons College of Kentucky. We have to support our own institutions, because the only way we can really mobilize is if we organize. If you study the civil rights struggle, the foundation of that was Black institutions, Black churches, Black funeral homes, Gaston in Birmingham, Alabama. That's what King was organizing at a Black man's hotel. We need our hotels. We need our own stores. We need our own businesses. We need to have our own stuff, because Papa may have and Mama may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. So I want to thank God for these 2 wonderful giants in our midst, and to have Dr. Jones here locally. Amen. And also, potentially, Nina Turner here, Simmons College. If there's any professors or trustees from Simmons or students, would you just stand so we can just, I know some of, all right, some of our professors are here. Thank you so very much. Yes, sir.
You got to show some love to another school today. Where did King go to school?
Morehouse? But let me ask you this. Who was the first person that Henry Morehouse, who Morehouse is named after, who is a white man, who made the statement, the talented 10th, that came from Henry Morehouse, your school, a white man. I'm not awesome. Okay. Who was it that got the money, well, not from Morehouse, for Spelman? Who got the money for Spelman from Rockefeller, because Rockefeller's wife's name was Spelman? I don't know. William J. Simmons. And I'm the president of Simmons, who, by the way, is a black man. But Morehouse is a great school, Doc. Okay. But Morehouse is a great school. And Henry Morehouse. And that's important. My favorite black person is not black. And I say that to my white brothers and sisters. Because my favorite black person is not black. Even Frederick Douglass said he's his favorite black person. John Brown. 1859. That's my man. That's right. We need to raise some John Browns up in this place, all right? Now, let me just shift just for a second, and we're through, Sister Krystal, and that is, we're going to sing. Kevin, are we going to sing a little bit? We shall overcome. I think I got my organist here. Yes. Okay, we have a presentation. Okay. Forgive me.
Thank you.
I think Jason is here too. Okay.
Soror Nina Turner, we're going to ask you to stay right where you are because your leg. We want to make sure that you're okay. Soror Turner, the members present here of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, we want to thank you for your unwavering commitment to social justice, your visionary leadership, and your passionate drive for change. Your dedication inspires so many, and we are grateful for all that you do. As a small token of appreciation, we would like you to accept these flowers and a small gift. May they brighten your day as you continue to illuminate the path of others. We truly love you and appreciate you, Soror Turner.
Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Bless your hearts. Thank you so much. Let's give them some love, Kendall. Thanks, Kendall.
All right, and before we wrap up, we want to remind you to go and visit the Black organizations that are set up out there in the concourse, the Louisville branch of the NAACP, Louisville Central Community Centers, and the Yearlings Club. Also, you can grab yourself some Simmons swag out there as well. Support your HBCU. And then this is real good right here. Maddie's Kitchen is open. So if you want to grab you some dinner on the way home, be sure to support Maddie's Kitchen. Rev, back to you.
And to the members of St. Stephen, this is kind of internal, and that is, this is our regular Wednesday Bible study night, and so the ushers will be at the door, and they will have their offering bags, and so to the members of St. Stephen's, we expect you to, do what you're supposed to do in support of the church. If you are a visitor and you want to give, don't fight the feeling, all right? So there will be ushers at the door to support. All right? That's right. That's right. All right, Doc, Kevin James, a radical musician, woke, concerned, has a heart for the community, and amen's going to lead us. And we're going to sing, this is King's birthday, right? And because of it's King's birthday, we're going to honor him today, and we're going to sing, We Shall Overcome, all right? And then we can consider ourselves dismissed. Come and join us if you can. The restaurant is open in Maddie's Kitchen. Thank you for being with us tonight.
A little louder. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday.
As our benediction, I will quote Dr. King's words from Amos chapter 5 and verse 24, where Dr. King says, and let justice run down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.